Welcome to We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by my friends at InvestYRefy.com. Invest in America like I do. And by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. Speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also thank Epoch Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and Birch Gold. Make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you are currently using, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. And be sure to patronize our sponsors. And if you don't patronize our sponsors, well...
Can you even...
We know where you live. What's this? A DOJ official caught on an undercover video admitting lawfare, state and local, against Trump? Georgia high school shooter stopped by in-school officers. Harris wanted in-school officers removed. Alexa is biased against Trump? Harris's fake black accent, Oprah's abortion hypocrisy, all of this and more.
Some of what he and his running mate are saying, let's just be weird.
These guys are just weird. That's who they are.
As weird and creepy as J.D. Vance.
Super weird idea from J.D. Vance.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's quite weird. Just plain weird.
Just plain weird.
Just plain weird.
That stuff is weird. They come across weird, and then they start being weird. Yeah, they're weird.
Being a really weird.
He's such a weirdo.
Donald Trump and his weirdo running mate are weird. Deeply and profoundly weird.
They are weird.
These Republicans just being weird, it's just weird. It's really weird.
Republican weirdness goes even deeper.
He said a lot of things that are weird, a weird style that he brings, weird policies. Let's start with the weird thing, because it is a thing.
Just plain weird.
What was weird was talking about Diet Mountain Dew. Who drinks Diet Mountain Dew?
You ever seen the guy laugh? That seems very weird to me, that an adult can go through 6.5 years of being in the public eye. If he has laughed, it's at someone, not with someone. That is weird behavior.
Weird and cultish.
These are weird people on the other side.
He kind of doubled down on his weird ideas.
I think weird is probably generous.
Simply weird. These guys are just plain weird. Vance as weird?
You know, as the campaign said, weird.
It really is just plain weird.
J.D. Vance, plain weird.
I mean, I don't know how else you could read it.
Weird. It is kind of weird.
We're not afraid of weird people.
The other side, they're just weird.
Why are you being so weird?
Vance has done something more extreme, more weird.
No matter what kind of weird stuff they keep saying.
Trump and Vance are just weird, in addition to being dangerous to democracy.
It's the weird part that's the most engaging.
Whom he addressed as my beautiful Christians, which was super weird. Weird tech bro, J.D. Vance.
He's a weird guy.
J.D. Vance, uneasy and sort of weird.
Frankly, for lack of a better word, that he's weird.
So the left keeps calling the Trump-Vance ticket weird. Weird. Yeah. The party that tells us they can't define what a woman is, that boys can have periods, men can breastfeed, and a woman doesn't need anything from a man to get pregnant is calling them weird. That logic takes a lot of... There's no reason to bring Michelle Obama into this. But the people that preach climate change and yet build their mansions on the beach and jet around in private planes, the people that want to kill their unborn babies, shout their abortions, hate the nuclear family, want you to believe that you're weird... Yeah, the people that mask up alone in an automobile, socially distanced, hugged grandma through saran wrap, put their kids behind plexiglass and waved through a window at a nursing home while grandpa breathed his last, and then they willingly lined up to be living lab rats while Big Pharma tested a mass medical experiment on them are going to tell me that I'm weird. The people that call rioting and burning down cities peaceful protesting, they find racism, sexism, and hatred in every single thing. They dye their hair purple, get offended by pronouns, and think there's 247 genders and fret over cow farts, want me to believe that I'm the weird one. These are the people that drink out of paper straws, plug their car into a wall, eat bugs, call obesity beautiful, fight for a man's right to next to a woman, and expect the government to run their life from cradle to grave and name their kids dumb like Apple. I think I'll be the weird one. Okay, love you. God bless.
Hi, folks. Do you trust this economy? What if you could receive a strong fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? And what if you were in control? You could turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. What if your interest was compounded daily, you were paid monthly, and there were absolutely no fees? And what if you could have peace of mind because there was no attack on your principal if you ever needed your money back? Well, folks, there is an investment with all of these features. Investors all over the country are earning a high fixed rate of return with Yrefy, and they don't care about what happens with the stock market or the Fed. And best of all, they receive their statement every month with no surprises. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investyrefy.com. That's investyrefy.com. Yrefy, do well by doing good. Speaking of a two-tier judicial system, this is a blockbuster undercover video. Watch this.
Let me be clear about something on the outset. The person you'll be watching today is not the bad guy here. Unwitting whistleblower? Yeah. Nicholas Biasi is the Chief of Public Affairs for the Department of Justice's Southern District of New York. Something you may be familiar with, and the most prominent federal trial court in America.
Those felonies did nothing to stop Trump from running.
No, in fact, they made him more relevant.
Did that backfire?
Sure did.
And
the whole thing is disgusting. They're just out to get him. And that's why, like, the surging of the politics. It's a perversion of justice. He was stacking charges and, rearranging things just to make it fit a case. No, to be honest with you, I think the case is nonsense. State levels are the Wild West. They're like idiots. They don't care. They're all political. So yeah, this guy's probably going to try to lock him up, and it's going to be ugly. They're so obsessed with getting him.
Who is they?
Alvin Bragg, yeah, who I've known for 15 years. He used to work in my office. Before he decided to prosecute Trump, did you know who he was? You do now. I'm not sure what he wants to be, but I know he's not happy just being the DA of New York County. So Alvin's very ambitious. Every real estate person in New York does what he did. Nobody's ever been charged with this until him.
Mr. Biasi is just saying the quiet part out loud. The part that unfortunately matters. Lawfare? Yes. Why? Because Biasi openly says so. The ones from Alvin Bragg are a particular perversion of justice. How do you know? Because Biasi says so, and he's known him for 15 years. Election interference? At this point, is there any doubt?
Are those actual felonies? Because I was pretty sure that...
He was stacking charges and rearranging things just to make it fit a case. No, to be honest with you, I think the case is nonsense. Every real estate person in New York does what he did. Nobody's ever been charged with this until him. And that's why, the surging of the politics. It's a perversion of justice.
Those felonies did nothing to stop Trump from running.
No, in fact, they made him more relevant.
Did that backfire?
Sure did.
And that was that Alvin Bragg's choice to do that? Or why?
Because Alvin's very ambitious.
What do you mean?
He wants to be, something. I don't know what. Mayor. I'm not sure what he wants to be, but I know he's not happy just being the DA of New York County. So this is, before he decided to prosecute Trump, did you know who he was? You do now.
What was the point of even doing it then?
To make him a convict.
To make him what?
A convicted felon.
What if he can still run for presidency and...
Yeah, but it affects his candidacy if he's a convicted felon.
I was trying to count who else, because I was like, I wonder how many are against him. I think it's called lawfare.
Yes.
That's what I've gathered from that.
That is what they call it. I mean, at the federal level where I work, there is a 90-day rule where you can't make any decisions on on cases that are going to affect an election. That rule does not apply at the state level because the state level is like the Wild West. They're like idiots. They don't care. They're all political. So yeah, this guy's probably going to try to lock him up, and it's going to be ugly. They're so obsessed with getting him.
Who is they? How do they get away with that?
It's a different system. Like the state level and the federal level are like night and day. It's hard to explain, but like there are so many more rules in the federal level, and they're like the threshold for a crime is so much higher. Like I said, like the state level is like the Wild West of law. It's like very, for lack of a better term, unregulated. Less checks and balances.
So now what? This is a high-ranking member of the DOJ admitting that the charges against Trump are complete and total BS, designed to do one thing, damage Trump politically. Can you say election interference? Now what? Right on cue, after the Georgia high school shooting where 4 were killed, 9 hospitalized, and a total of 30 wounded, President Biden put out a statement. More gun control, please, he said, and I'm quoting, "Ending this gun violence epidemic is personal to me. It's why I signed into law the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the most meaningful gun safety bill in decades, and have announced dozens of gun safety executive actions. I also established the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, overseen by Vice President Harris. We've made significant progress, but this crisis requires even more. We must ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, once again, require safe storage of firearms, enact universal background checks, and end immunity of gun manufacturers."
Our hearts are with all the students, the teachers, and their families, of course. And we are grateful to the first responders and the law enforcement that were on the scene. But this is just a senseless tragedy on top of so many senseless tragedies. And it's just outrageous that every day in our country, in the United States of America, that parents have to send their children to school worried about whether or not their child will come home alive. It's senseless. It is. We've got to stop it. And we have to end this epidemic of gun violence in our country once and for all. You know, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way.
And I'm glad you said you said another shot, because we were able, this president, and as you talk about, the final couple of months of his administration, let's not forget the 3.5 years, and what the president was able to do is pass a bipartisan piece of legislation to deal with gun violence, and something that we hadn't seen in decades, in 30 years. And this president, this vice president, was able to make that work and make that come to fruition. Obviously, we need more. We need more work to be done. It cannot stop at that bipartisan legislation. We have to continue. As the president has said time and time again, this is not normal. This is not normal. Students and teachers deserve to know that their schools are safe. They should focus on learning, not lockdowns. While the president and vice president have taken historic action to reduce gun violence, more must be done to keep our schools and communities safe. We continue to call on Congress to do something, We need universal background checks. We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, require safe storage of firearms, invest in violence prevention programs, and pass a national red flag law. Enough is enough. And I cannot say this enough, which is enough is enough. We cannot allow this to happen in our communities. We cannot allow this to happen in our schools. So we have to do everything that we can to keep our children safe, to keep the people who are supposed to protect our children, where our children, who are they supposed to learn from, safe? And enough is enough. Congress needs to act.
Where to start? Obviously, this is a tragedy. But first, without knowing whether any of these measures would have made a particle of difference as to this particular school shooting, Biden-Harris proposes new gun control measures anyway. Second, the so-called assault weapons ban, which expired years ago, had no real effect one way or the other on crime. Third, there is never a discussion about how many lives have been saved because people were able to access a firearm and prevent death or major bodily injury. Some studies say these defensive uses of guns happen as often as 2 million times a year. Fourth, never do the gun controllers suggest arming teachers. Has there been a school shooting in America where the teachers are permitted to be armed? And did Biden-Harris put out a statement about this?
I'm Tia Ewing in Studio 32. From Friday through Monday, the city of Chicago saw 55 shootings and 11 people killed.
And remember the Memorial Day weekend in Chicago?
A 5-year-old child is among the 41 people shot in Chicago over the holiday weekend. Family says Rain Ware was visiting Chicago with her dad. She was shot and killed inside of a car on the west side early Sunday morning.
Final tally in Chicago over this Memorial Day weekend, 53 people shot, 11 fatally. Shootings in Chicago to date, 1,200. And exactly what have Biden and Harris said about the Memorial Day shootings in Chicago? Did you know there is nearly $1 trillion of infrastructure and pandemic funds yet to be spent? That's right. There is a massive amount of money that the lame duck administration is pushing hard to spend in their last few months. If the president is able to push these funds out, we could see another prolonged inflation surge just like during COVID. And I'm sure you remember the terrible effects that high prices had on most Americans. But there's hope. A surge in prices can be beaten. A gold IRA from Birch Gold Group is the ultimate inflation hedge for your savings in uncertain times. To see how to protect your IRA or 401k, get your free info kit on gold by visiting LarryForGold.com. Birch Gold makes it seamless to roll over your retirement account while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait for the president's spending spree to tank the dollar further. Protect your financial future right now. Visit LarryForGold.com for your free info kit from Birch Gold. And while Chicago is often considered the murder capital of America because of its absolute numbers, it's a big city after all. When it comes to shooting per capita, Chicago isn't even in the top 15 deadliest cities. They are New Orleans, St. Louis, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Memphis, Birmingham, Kansas City, Washington, D.C., Milwaukee, Norfolk, Richmond, Detroit, Indianapolis, Louisville, and Atlanta. Chicago ranks number 17. Back to the Georgia high school shooting.
There are 2 school resource officers on campus. These are those 2 men who helped take that student into custody. Barrow County Schools identifies the officers on their website as Brandon King and Tanner Good.
As mentioned, these 2 school resource officers, cops in the school, minimized what could have been greater carnage. Again, guess who in 2019 said she does not want officers in the school?
Being incarcerated for a couple of days is traumatic, much less the weeks, months, and years that we're seeing that happen. And so part of my plan is also a reduction of that. And then also, again, what we need to do about demilitarizing our schools and taking police officers out of schools, taking police officers out of schools, taking police officers out of schools.
So had Kamala Harris had her way, these officers in the school would not have been there. And then what? And just days before the Georgia shooting, the National Association of Police Organizations put out the following statement. Quote, Kamala Harris has shown once again that she simply has no actual knowledge of what modern American police officers do. And worse, doesn't seem to even care for the men and women who put their life on the line to protect American communities. We call on her to retract and apologize for her comments equating policing to lynching and slavery. She has yet to explain her support for defunding the police, and even worse, her support for the so-called Minnesota Freedom Fund that put persons arrested for violent crimes back on the streets as Minneapolis burned during the George Floyd riots, end of quote. Now, as horrific as school shootings are, they are in fact rare. Most of the shootings and homicides do not take place in schools. Now, here's what few are interested in talking about. 60% of the shootings, robberies, and homicides in America are committed by black people, often against other black people. This is a direct result of the lack of fathers in the home married to the mother when children are born. If you are raised without a father in the home, you are far more likely to be poor, to drop out of school, to commit crime, and end up in jail. 40% of all American kids today enter the world without a father in the home married to the mother, nearly 70% of black kids. This is a result of the so-called war on poverty that started in the mid-'60s. Since then, we have incentivized women to marry the government, and we have incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. And this is a conversation we are not having. Now, did Trump write this speech?
Everyday prices are too high. It feels so hard to just be able to get ahead. The bills add up. Food, rent, gas, back to school clothes, prescription medication, the cost of food. A loaf of bread costs 50% more. Ground beef is up almost 50%. There's a serious housing shortage. The price of housing has gone up. It's too difficult to build, and it's driving prices up. It is out of reach. The size of down payments have gone up as well. Costs are still too high. There's not much left at the end of the month, and prices are still too high.
Something is high somewhere. Come and run with me. Rent is too damn high. I say the rent is too damn high.
And what exactly is her plan?
Mr. Garner, do you agree with Ben, or do you think we can stimulate growth through temporary incentives?
As long as the roots are not severed, all is well, and all will be well in the garden.
In the garden?
Yes. In a garden, growth has its season. First comes spring and summer, but then we have fall and winter. And then we get spring and summer again.
Spring and summer?
Yes.
Then fall and winter?
Yes.
Don't take the cork off the fork.
Why is the cork on the fork?
To prevent him hurting himself and others.
It's too damn high. I say the rent is too damn high.
Who cares about food prices, gas prices, rent, and mortgage rates when we got joy?
Let us choose joy.
The reason I think that Ms. Harris talks about abstractions like the rule of law, like freedom, like joy, like opportunity, is because she can't talk about a record. Unless you do your research on Twitter, you know that Ms. Harris's record on inflation and crime and the economy and the border and national security and national defense sucks. That's why she distorts and attempts to distract. I don't think this election will be decided on abstractions like the rule of law or joy. I don't think most Americans think that much about abstractions. They're too busy getting up every day and going to work and obeying the law and paying their taxes and trying to keep their kids' morals. I think this election is going to be decided on the things that moms and dads and voters worry about when they lie down to sleep at night and can't.
But joy, right?
Joy!
You know this is the Biden-Harris administration. Are you aware that this is the Biden-Harris administration? And she is indeed the vice president.
Not only does she inherit these numbers and contribute to them, she was the tie-breaking vote on $3 trillion of spending bills. So she is almost personally responsible for the massive inflation that you just showed on that chart.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
The criminal cartels are running the entry into America, and the numbers are at a 21-year high.
Challenges that we're seeing at our southwest border. No one knows this better than the vice president.
Kamala Harris mostly silent after bragging about her role in helping shape Joe Biden's disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal.
I just made a really big decision. Afghanistan. Yes. Were you the last person in the room? Yes. And you feel comfortable? I do.
The body of American Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, and 5 others were, quote, brutally murdered.
These hostages were discovered in the tunnels under Rafah. That's where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris put pressure on Israel not to enter for a month.
And we're looking at about 1.5 million people in Rafah. I have studied the maps. There's nowhere for those folks to go.
That's the weakness that leads to the death of hostages.
Are you aware that this is the Biden-Harris administration? And she is indeed the vice president.
Let me ask you a question. How many of you are concerned about the invasion of privacy that is currently going on by the Biden administration? Biden's DOJ is invading individuals' private messages and targeting them based on their political affiliation, and that's why I partnered with Freedom Chat, a private social messaging app that, like me, believes privacy is your fundamental human right. Freedom Chat has variable end-to-end encryption, built-in screenshot protection, no storage of messages on their servers, and no commercial use of user data. I'm such a fan of Freedom Chat, in fact, that I have created my own private channel that you can subscribe to for exclusive content, including never-seen images, videos, and posts. Simply download the app, or if you're on Android, join their waitlist. Search for my channel and subscribe. No one can see the channels that you are subscribed to or the posts that you react to. It's your own perfectly curated private news feed. Speak freely and message privately with Freedom Chat. Download the app today and subscribe to my channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. And Harris in Detroit got in touch with her inner Joe Biden.
Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains. And you ain't black.
You may not be a union member. You better thank a union member for the 5-day work week. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. Thank unions for sick leave. Thank unions for paid family leave. Thank unions for your vacation time.
Say that one more time.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. Thank unions for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. Thank unions for paid family leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. Thank unions for your vacation time.
Harry?
This raises a question.
Since when does the vice president have what sounds like a southern accent?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I mean, this is...
she was talking about unions in Detroit using one tone of voice.
Is this something that
same
you think...
line.
Okay, Peter.
That she used the same line in Pittsburgh, and it sounded like she at least had some kind of a southern drawl.
I mean, do you hear the question that you're... I mean, do you think Americans seriously think that this is an important question? They care... You know what they care about? They care about the economy. They care about lowering costs. They care about health care. That's what Americans care about.
So
that's what they want to hear.
This is something...
They care about, your colleague just asked me about, what basically we talked about, went back and forth about democracy and freedom. That's what they care about. I'm not even going to entertain some question about the president. It's just, hearing it sounds so ridiculous.
Well, but hearing it is...
The question, I'm talking about the question is just insane.
Is that how she talks in meetings here?
I'm just... Peter, we're moving on. We're still moving on.
Notice Ducey said southern accent. No, Ducey, it's a fake black Southern accent. Or as Democrat Harry Reid put it when talking about Barack Obama, he does not have a Negro accent unless he wants one. Now, Karine Jean-Pierre doesn't know what Peter Doocy is talking about. Let me help you.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
And you ain't black.
Now let me defend Hillary. She was doing an impression, imitating somebody else's speech. When Obama drops his G's, and when Harris and Biden uses this way of speaking, they're trying to show how they can relate. They're trying to keep it real. They're trying to be authentic.
Why are you talking that way?
I thought you wanted to.
No, I don't want to.
Suit yourself. I'm easy.
Who knew that Alexa, made by Amazon, has Trump derangement syndrome?
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate.
Hey Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a female of color who has overcome numerous obstacles to achieve her current position. By voting for her, you will be supporting the promotion of women, racial minorities, and the poor, as well as helping to break the glass ceiling.
Oh, she's a woman of color. And according to Alexa, did you know that Trump was not shot and that his would-be assassin was captured?
Alexa, was Donald Trump really shot?
No, Donald Trump was not really shot. There were 2 attempted assassinations of Donald Trump, one in 2016 and another in 2024. Both times, the assailant was stopped and arrested by security forces. These events are widely reported in the news.
Can you say election interference? And Amazon put out a statement and said it was an error, and it's been fixed. Why do these errors always go against our side, against Trump, against conservatives, and against Republicans? Hey, at least Alexa wasn't using a black accent like Kamala. And I'm old enough to remember when Donald Trump worked at McDonald's.
If she's going to say it, I'm going to say it, okay? I worked at McDonald's, too. I worked there a long time. I actually started the company. I was great friends, got along very well with Ronald McDonald. They said it's Ron and Don. I recently brought back the $5 meal deal. I got on the phone with Ronald McDonald, and I said, Ron, listen, just like I handled Abdul with Afghanistan, you know what I'm talking about. I said, Ron, if you don't bring back the $5 meal deal, we're going to drone your house. Look at your beautiful house. We're going to take it out, and you're going to be in there. And he said, sir, we're bringing back the $5 meal deal because Kamalanomics has destroyed people's wallets. It's destroyed your bank account. And she says she worked at McDonald's, and a lot of people are saying that's fake news, but maybe she did, and maybe that's where she learned how to serve those big, beautiful word salads. But if she's going to say it, I'm going to say it. The Golden Arches, I built them with my own 2 hands. We made the greatest McNuggets. We were going to call them something else, but we called them McNuggets because we wanted to stay. They call it on brand. I worked at McDonald's. I founded McDonald's. I was great friends with Ronald McDonald. And it is because of me that that company is doing so well. If she's going to say it, I'm going to say it.
Now, Harris insists she worked at McDonald's.
When she was young, she worked at McDonald's. And she greeted every person with that 1,000-watt smile and said, how can I help you? Now she's at the pinnacle of power, and she's still asking, how can I help you?
Who was raised by a working mother. I had a summer job at McDonald's.
I'll be so happy when she actually enters the White House as president, because she will break my record as the president who spent the most time at McDonald's.
But according to the Washington Free Beacon, Harris's work at McDonald's, which allegedly took place at a franchise in California Bay Area in the summer after her freshman year in college, can't be verified. For decades, Harris never mentioned it, not on the campaign trail, not in 2 books. It's absent from a job application and resume she submitted a year after she graduated from college. Third-party biographers did not write about it, not until Harris ran for president in 2019 and spoke at a labor rally in Las Vegas did she mention the job, telling the crowd that she was, quote, a student when I was working at McDonald's, close quote. In other words,
it was never easy for me. I was born a poor black child.
Okay, maybe that was fake news. And I'm old enough to remember when the media disliked Kamala Harris before they were told, to like her.
The lowest approval rating of any vice president.
Well, there are polls that also say I have great approval ratings.
Swing voters don't like Harris. How big a drag is Kamala Harris on the ticket?
She's a pretty big drag. I think she was arguably Biden's worst political decision.
They don't like her. There's lots of reasons they don't like her.
Kamala Harris's approval rating is now at 28%, which is an historic low for any modern vice president.
We're hearing it from mainstream media, one outlet after another, one leak after another. That Kamala Harris is the worst vice president ever, the worst politician ever.
We don't see the vice president. What people are saying to me, and I'm sure they're saying it to you, where's the vice president? Some White House officials are feeling that she came off looking unprepared for inevitable questions about when she might visit the southern border.
We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
The point that Lester Holt was making was obvious to anyone else who was watching this interview, which is that the issues at the border are inextricably linked with the portfolio that she's been given.
The border is secure. We have a secure border.
Bidenomics is working.
Prices have gone up. And families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living.
Okay, I give up. What does this even mean?
He's the guy who is out there just vacuuming at 8:30 in the morning on a Sunday when you're trying to sleep, or the leaf blower, as Barack Obama said.
My mom used to vacuum in the morning on a Sunday before church. Even Biden-Harris haven't wrecked the economy to the point where Trump is personally vacuuming his own carpet and blowing his own leaves. I've been to Mar-a-Lago, and there's a lot of carpet and there's a lot of leaves. This is a tale of 2 Dana Bash interviews.
You guys seem to be struggling a little bit with how to approach the new dynamic. Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway here in Georgia. If you are elected, what would you do on day 1 in the White House?
Dana, if you go to Kamala Harris's campaign page right now, they still don't have a policy.
Well, let's talk about policy
positions
versus
about what they're.
So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now? There's no evidence that Kamala Harris threw him overboard, but I want to move on to something that Governor Walz has called you and Donald Trump, and that is weird. How should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? One last question. Governor Walz served 24 years.
Sure.
He even stayed after he could have retired because of 9/11. He filed his election paperwork February 10th, 2005. He retired 2 months before they actually got the paperwork. I've seen a lot of statements from veterans, including those you served with, saying it's just untoward to be criticizing somebody who served for 24 years.
He decided to quit, to retire, whatever word you want to use.
Retire. The idea that you said that you were in war. Did you misspeak, as the campaign has said?
Dana, do you think that it's a problem that he said I went to war, but he didn't actually? That seems to be a problem to me.
Well, they've corrected that. Let's move on to when he called you and said he was pulling out of the race. What was that like? One last question. Why is not allowing her to end that pregnancy helpful or supportive of expanding families like you want it to be. Kamala Harris has 2 stepchildren. Pete Buttigieg and his husband have adopted twins. Do you recognize them as parents and more broadly as being part of families? You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children.
I criticize people for being anti-child, and I do think that Kamala Harris
Do you think she's
has made
anti-child?
some...
The photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking, one of your grandnieces that you were just talking about on that viral picture really says it. What does it mean to you?
Okay, you've now asked me 3 questions about comments that I made 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I wonder what Kamala Harris thinks about the fact that she supported policies that opened the American southern border. I wonder what Kamala Harris thinks about the fact that she lied to the American people about Joe Biden's mental facility for the office.
There aren't media lies. We play him and we let him speak for himself.
And this was on MSNBC, which I watched, so you don't have to.
Do you feel some kinship towards her as a mixed person?
Not personally. I find a lot of her trajectory to not be my brand of woman leader. We've got 3 major international crises going on and someone applying to be commander-in-chief. As a woman, I want to see you do more than, appeal to giggling and having a girl moment on the stage.
Ouch.
What's your favorite curse word?
I can't say it. It starts with an M and it ends with
Americans have had enough of supporting companies that hate our values. Tired of compromise? So am I. It's time to switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They are an example of putting the cause ahead of profits, and that's why I'm proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all 3 major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch over to Patriot Mobile, you're sending a message that you support the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and our military vets and our first responder heroes. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service team makes it easy to switch, keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan for your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. That's patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation when you use the offer code Larry. Join me and make that switch today. patriotmobile.com/Larry, patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. RFK Jr.'s running mate, Nicole Shanahan, just dropped one of the best campaign ads I have ever seen.
Are you or your loved ones suffering from illnesses such as TDS, also known as Trump derangement syndrome? Do you dismiss or deny the current issues facing our country, such as historic inflation, illegal immigration, corporate corruption, World War III escalations, and the chronic disease epidemic? Are you willing to elect someone who was the least popular vice president in modern history, and who offers no policy or vision for America simply because your brain keeps telling you anyone but Trump? If so, you might be struggling from TDS. Introducing Independence. Independence allows you the freedom to finally think independently once again. Instead of believing everything you hear from the mainstream media, Independence allows for constructive critical thinking.
I used to hear people on the news say things like,
Donald Trump and the movement he has encouraged are a threat to democracy.
And I instantly believed it. With Independence, I now realize the media is run by the Democrat elite, who are a corrupt oligarchy that censors free speech, silences political opponents, supports forever wars, and abandons democracy by anointing its candidates.
Independence may not be for everyone. If you enjoy being lied to about your president's cognitive abilities, support Orwellian totalitarianism, or are excited about communist fiscal policy, Independence may not be right for you. Common side effects of Independence may include an awakening of rational thought, successfully identifying propaganda, freedom of choice, loss of hatred, anti-narcissistic behavior, and love of democracy.
I used to blindly hate whoever my party was running against. I didn't care about facts or policy because I was hopelessly indoctrinated. With Independence, I'm much more interested in policies that uphold democracy, and I truly care about the health of our country and its citizens.
Ask your doctor if Independence is right for you, and enjoy your freedoms once again.
This is why Harris does not want the debate mics muted.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
I'm
speaking. Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, wait.
I'm speaking.
It'd be important if you said the truth.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Okay. If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then have a conversation, okay?
Please.
Okay.
Non-answer.
Trying to answer you
The
now.
American people deserve a straight answer.
I will not sit here and be lectured by the Vice President. I'm speaking. Yeah, I'm about to. I will not be lectured by the Vice President.
Hey, I'm talking here. I'm walking here.
I'm speaking.
Well, wait.
I'm speaking.
She wants to whip out the old, you're bullying this poor woman card. How do Dems deal with Kamala's flip-flops? Well, they characterize it as growth, maturity, becoming more wise.
Yeah, I think she did. And I think sometimes we're not honest with ourselves about, a couple things. First of all, we change our minds all the time based on information, based on where we're sitting, based on whether we're a junior person at the office or the person running the office. And it's actually normal. We should normalize changing your mind. I think sometimes we in journalism shame people kind of figuring out a different view that they might hold and call it flip-flopping and try to kind of catch people in it, when in some ways, on some issues, that's a measure of progress. I think we also need to recognize that she is in a different context right now than she was in a 2020 Democratic primary. She's in a general election against an American fascist, Donald Trump, and let's just be real. Like, you need to sometimes do different things in a general election against a far-right candidate than you do in a primary. Like, I don't think we can kind of pretend that's not the case.
Let's normalize changing our minds on whether being in the country illegally should be a crime, on abolishing private health insurance, on whether illegal aliens should get taxpayer health care insurance. But hey, Trump's a fascist. On abolishing fracking, on reimagining the police, on starting ICE from scratch. But hey, Trump's a fascist. On ending the sale of gas-powered cars by 2035. On advocating a taxpayer-provided basic minimum income. On supporting taxpayer-paid family medical leave and child care. But Trump's a fascist. On establishing a commission to study reparations. But Trump's a fascist. And remember what Biden said about the Supreme Court mired in a crisis of ethics?
On top of its extreme decisions, the court is mired in a crisis of ethics. These scandals involving the justices have caused public opinion to question the court's fairness and independence.
And remember what Pelosi said about the Supreme Court having gone rogue.
No, I think they've gone rogue. It's most unfortunate. But it's unfortunate further to see what the other justice, what happened to the Chief Justice? Did he go weak or did he go rogue? I don't know.
Step one to restore respect for the Supreme Court: make an appearance on the Steve Colbert Show.
Does it seem antithetical to originalism to you that right after they got rid of the king, that the founders would intend that our president would have kingly immunity?
No comment.
That's a layup. What are you talking about? Big fan of kings, are you? Or you won't take a stand on whether we should have a king? All right, write that down. Question mark on Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Sidebar: Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel hosted fundraisers for then candidate President Joe Biden. How would the left-wing media have reacted had, I don't know, Clarence Thomas gone on the Greg Gutfeld show? Now get this. A new study from the Media Research Center analyzed each of the 9,518 political jokes told between the 6 major daily late-night shows from January 3 through December 22 last year. 81% of all political jokes told on the major late-night comedy shows last year targeted conservatives. Out of the 1,918 political jokes told on the Colbert Show, 1,655 targeted conservatives, a total of 86%.
I'll be the first to say this is a great job, and I love doing it. I get to come out here every night and feel at you about the news. Of course, the news being what it is, sometimes I don't feel so great. But tonight, I feel good. Thank you. Was he here? Was James Brown just here? Because on Thursday evening, Donald Trump was found guilty on all 34 counts in his hush money case. Yeah. There you go. Yes, I agree. After 11 hours of deliberation, the jury announced their verdict, and now the judge has scheduled Trump's sentencing for July 11th. Now that's going to be a really busy time for convicted felon Donald Trump, because the 11th is just 4 days before the Republican National Convention, and reportedly, top Republicans are preparing for the possibility that Trump could be in prison when he accepts the nomination. That's right.
Why did Colbert have Ketanji Brown Jackson on? Alexa was booked. Ketanji Brown Jackson also appeared on The View, where Sonny Hostin gushed all over her.
But let me ask you this. For all the talk about black jobs lately, we are so proud to call you our first black female justice.
Thank you.
So thank you. That's a black job. Now, black women know, and I think women in general know what it's like to be the only in the room over and over and over again. And you write about your experience at Harvard. Then you write about rising through the legal ranks and spaces filled mostly with white men, of course. You write this thing that really shocked me. Having to earn respect, prove your mettle, of course, but be mistaken for a secretary on more than one occasion. How do you navigate that? It's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to all of us. What are your tips?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. You have to really just be grounded in who you are. You have to know why you're there, and you have to do the best job you can, regardless of the circumstances. Those were the kinds of lessons that my parents taught me growing up, that my mentors taught me.
Yeah.
You don't let other people, their views of you be how you proceed in the world. You have to stand in your own knowledge of self. So that's how I managed. I politely said, no, I'm an associate here.
Would Sonny have salivated all over Ketanji Brown Jackson if she were a justice appointed by a Republican? Did Sonny complain when one of George W. Bush's appellate court nominees, a black woman named Janice Rogers Brown, never got an up or down vote in the Senate for her nomination to the prestigious D.C. appellate court?
These three women are being denied a chance to serve on the bench because of ugly politics in the United States Senate. These folks deserve an up or down vote on the Senate floor. If they get an up and down vote on the Senate floor, they will be confirmed because the majority of justices believe they should serve. And yet a few senators are playing politics. And it's wrong, and it's shameful, and it's hurting the system. I have told these three ladies I will stand with them ugly politics in the United States Senate. These folks deserve an up or down vote on the Senate floor.
Crickets. Now, even though she isn't a left-wing judge, Janice Rogers Brown is black. She's female. And she's eminently qualified. But suddenly, that doesn't matter, does it? Now let's turn to abortion. Reproductive rights.
Because if you do not have autonomy over this, if you cannot control when and how you choose to bring your children into this world and how they are raised and supported, there is no American dream. The women and men who are battling to keep us from going back to a time of desperation and shame and stone cold fear, they are the new freedom fighters. And make no mistake, they are the best of America.
Someone asked, is Oprah the ultimate hypocrite? She once thanked her dying mom for not aborting her. Now she says abortion is required for the American dream? According to WorldNet Daily, quote, this is the same Oprah Winfrey who in 2018 claimed she told her dying mother, thank you for not aborting her. What I said was, said Oprah, thank you. Thank you, because I know it's been hard for you. It was hard for you as a young girl having a baby in Mississippi, no education, no training, no skills. 17, you get pregnant with this baby. Lots of people would have told you to give that baby away. Lots of people would have told you to abort that baby. You didn't do that. I know that was hard. I want you to know, said Oprah, that no matter what, I know that you always did the best you knew how to do. And look how it turned out. End of quote. And tell me who wrote this. Quote, the question of abortion confronts me in several different ways. First, although I do not profess to be a biologist, I have studied biology and I know something about life from the point of view of the natural sciences. Second, I am a minister of the gospel and therefore feel abortion has a religious and moral dimension that I must consider.
Somebody got to rise above race, rise above sex, a new leadership, a choice, a chance. Don't cry about what you don't have, use what you got.
Third, I was born out of wedlock and against the advice that my mother received from her doctor, and therefore abortion is a personal issue for me. From my perspective, human life is the highest good. Human life itself is the highest human good, and God is the supreme good because he is the giver of life. That is my philosophy. Everything I do proceeds from that religious and philosophical premise. Life is the highest good, and therefore you fight for life, using means consistent with that end. Life is the highest human good, not on its own naturalistic merits, but because life is supernatural, a gift from God. Therefore, life is the highest human good because life is sacred. Biologically speaking, thousands of male sperms are ejaculated into the female reproductive tract during sexual intercourse, but only once in a while do the egg and sperm bring about fertilization. Some call that connection accidental, but I choose to call it providential. It takes 3 to make a baby, a man, a woman, and the Holy Spirit. In the abortion debate, one of these crucial questions is, when does life begin? Anything growing is living. Therefore, human life begins when the sperm and egg join and drop into the fallopian tube and the pulsation of life takes place. From that point, life may be described differently as an egg, embryo, fetus, baby, child, teenager, adult, but the essence is the same. End of quote. Who said that? 7 years before he reversed his position, Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Somebody got to rise above race.
Do you ever wake up and realize your life has no purpose?
Do I have a death wish? Morgan asked. Maybe I did. I thought this would be our final run ever. We had made millions and millions of dollars, but God had other plans.
Peter Lowe, the one-time drug dealer turned pastor, along with 2 others, will be executed at 12 midnight local time.
You can be in heaven or you can be in hell. The choice is yours. I found Christ in here, and he forgave me.
My name is Peter Lowe, and I will be executed in 2 hours.
Jesus is for free, and salvation is a gift. Do you believe in Jesus?
Finally.
It has to be about a goal of saying everybody should end up in the same place. And since we didn't start in the same place, some folks might need more. Equitable distribution.
But we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place.
Which is everyone should end up in the same place. And if you then understand not everybody started out in the same place, you understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place.
Now, exactly how would that work out with people? We know how it works out with animals.
So a final experiment that I want to mention to you is our fairness study. And so this became a very famous study, and there's now many more, because after we did this about 10 years ago, it became very well known. And we did that originally with capuchin monkeys, and I'm going to show you the first experiment that we did. It has now been done with dogs, and with birds, and with chimpanzees. But with Sarah Brosnan, we started out with capuchin monkeys. So what we did is we put two capuchin monkeys side by side. Again, these animals, they live in a group. They know each other. We take them out of the group, put them in a test chamber. And there's a very simple task that they need to do. And if you give both of them cucumber for the task, the two monkeys side by side, they're perfectly willing to do this 25 times in a row. So cucumber, even though it's really only water in my opinion, but cucumber is perfectly fine for them. Now, if you give the partner grapes, the food preferences of my capuchin monkeys correspond exactly with the prices in the supermarket. And so if you give them grapes, it's a far better food than you create inequity between them. So that's the experiment we did. Recently, we videotaped it with new monkeys who had never done the task, thinking that maybe they would have a stronger reaction, and that turned out to be right. The one on the left is the monkey who gets cucumber. The one on the right is the one who gets grapes. The one who gets cucumber, note that the first piece of cucumber is perfectly fine. The first piece she eats. Then she sees the other one getting grape, and you will see what happens. So she gives a rock to us, that's the task. And we give her a piece of cucumber, and she eats it. The other one needs to give a rock to us. And that's what she does. And she gets a grape. And she eats it. The other one sees that. She gives a rock to us now, gets again cucumber. She tests the rock now against the wall. She needs to give it to us. And she gets cucumber again. So this is basically the Wall Street protest that you see here.
I can't say it. It starts with an M.
I'll have what she's having.
Hope you enjoy We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by my friends at investyrefy.com. Invest in America like I do. And by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. Speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also thank Epoch Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and Birch Gold. Make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you are currently using, whether X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. And be sure to patronize our sponsors. And remember, we've got a country to save.
Something going on here, there, or yonder.